Hey guys, welcome back. Fenyks-Gaming here with another episode of Raid Shadow Legends. Last night we did a Hydra run that was remarkably successful, unexpectedly, and I want to show you what we did so that maybe you can try it out with some of your teams. We'll just get straight into it. If you've seen some of my older videos, you'll know that my lead champion here, Tyrant, is not particularly well built, but we did bring him anyways. He's okay, but he's not great. So we'll just go over his total stats here. He's got 54k HP, 199 speed, 2800 defense, not crit capped at all, so we don't really care about his crit damage. His accuracy is 268, so he's definitely landing his HP burns. And for the gear sets, Perception, he's got some Immortal, and those are the only gear sets that he has. He's definitely overdue for an update. We can get him into some better gear. Or we can build out a second Tyrant. We're probably going to build out a second Tyrant because he's doing so well on every iteration of Hydra so far. So we're probably going to be doing that. The next champion that we have on the docket is Doom Priest. She was rebuilt specifically for Hydra. Haven't finished her accessories yet, but she is built to cleanse those fears pretty regularly and consistently before other people get to go. So she's got 70k HP, lots of HP, moderate defense. She's still tanky. She's at 260 speed, not crit capped again, because she just doesn't really do any damage. Her multipliers are pretty trash, so we don't really worry about that. Accuracy 106 because she has nothing to bring, right? That's all we're worried about for her. Under Priest Brogni was on the list. He's pretty well built because he's on my clan boss team. Definitely not the best he can be, and I mean, see we're still here, some 5-star gear in the top 3, so we can change that up and get that better. But for right now, he's doing the trick, and I just wanted to see how this composition was running. We also did bring Godseeker and Neri, and pretty much same story here. She's in decently good gear, right? So she has 5-star gloves, 5-star ring, and a 5-star banner. We can improve her for sure. Some of the substats probably aren't ideal, like she has attack percent on some of her items here. Oh, and that's not glyphed. We can fix that. But yeah, for last night's purposes, this worked just fine. Same, again, attack percent. These boots weren't originally meant for her, that's why that was actually glyphed. But yeah, that's her gear, her stats. 37k HP, pretty high defense because she's death based. Not crit cap, that's something that can improve her damage quite a bit if we did that, because she does actually slap if she's crit capped, but she's in my clan boss team right now, so I'm not gonna mess with her gear for the time being. Maybe I'll get a duplicate someday, and I'll rebuild her, or I'll build a new one rather, or I'll change my clan boss team. One of the two. Okay, so the next champion on the list was, where are you at? Was Mr. Vrask, right? Because this week they're not penalizing you for healing yourself, because that head with that passive, I forget his name, is not in the starting lineup. So I wasn't afraid to bring some extra heals just to keep everybody healthy. Okay, his stats are pretty good. I built him for Bommel. He's not doing the job, but his stats are decent. He's not fast enough is the issue for Bommel, which, let me see if we can even improve that. Not by much, right? We don't have speed substats on a lot of things. So he's in line for a re-gear. I really wanted to keep him in that regeneration gear though. So we'll see how that goes. Last but not least, and this is when I started to realize that my team's starting to look a little bit like my clan boss team, was, where are you, Mr. Geomancer? Now, Geomancer was a flex pick of mine. I brought him in at the last minute. That was not the team that I tested. The run that I'm going to show you was a first try kind of thing, and it just went really well. But looking at his stats, 48k HP, 3000 defense, 2400 attack, and still not crit cap. I'm really bad about that with these support champions. Speed 210, so he's kind of speedy. This is speed tuned for clan boss. I'm not going to mess with it. My clan boss team is doing well. And of course, accuracy 255, meeting those clan boss thresholds. So those are the champs, guys. Let's go ahead and get into it. The recording, of course, was made last night, so I'll be fast forwarding through some slow parts. But I'll discuss also what's going on during the important parts. So let's go ahead and just skip ahead here. Let's see. I was thinking about bringing Fenyks for his block buffs, but I decided against it because he's so squishy. He's so squishy. And this is when I decided, hey, maybe I'll try Geomancer. So before I actually let the run play, I want to discuss what the overall strategy was and why I would bring Geomancer as an HP burn in addition to Tyrant. Okay, so Head of Wrath is one of the new problems this week, as well as the Head of Blight. Okay, so the Head of Blight, first of all, brings the Poison Cloud debuff, which he puts on all allies. And what that Poison Cloud does is it prevents any hits from critting, and it prevents any damage from coming from poisons. I think it even prevents you from placing poisons on them. But it turns all hits on anybody with a Poison Cloud on them into a weak hit, and it stops you from putting poisons on them. So the caveat of that is you can overcome that like regular hit to weak hit transformation, or that buff. You can overcome it with an HP burn. So if you have an HP burn on somebody with a Poison Cloud, then you can do your normal stuff to him. It breaks the Poison Cloud, right? And that's by design. That is in the tooltip. That's not a fluke. That's not an error in programming. That is in the tooltip. You have to counter Poison Cloud with HP burn. So here's where it gets tricky. Every tick of the HP burn counts as a hit on the Head of Wrath. Okay, so it sounds good, but when you look at the Head of Wrath's tooltips here, you'll notice that he's got a counter, and every hit on the Head of Wrath increases the counter by 1. When it gets to 15, the Head of Wrath does an AoE, much like the Ice Golem does. Instantaneously activates the AoE, and it does a huge amount of damage. Actually, a 300% increase in damage. So if your team's not healthy, they die. Okay. My thought was this: Tyrant has the passive with his HP, with HP burns in general, that any enemy under HP burn does reduce damage. I believe it's 10%. And then Geomancer has his passive where if somebody is under his HP burn, his damage is reduced by 15%, and a percentage of the damage is reflected back to the attacker. Okay, so my plan was to lay down Tyrant's HP burn, overwrite the HP burn on the Head of Wrath with Geomancer's HP burn, and then get the Head of Wrath to get up to his 15 counter so that he can attack us. Now, ideally, it would be when I had Under Priest Brogni's shield up, so that a good chunk of the damage was being reflected and reduced back to him. So reduced, then reflected back to him. Let's see how that played out. We're going to probably fast forward here a little bit because I think I started talking to my clanmates. They were asking questions. So this is when I was going over those passives, and I'll pause it right here. This little icon right here is the ticker, and that only appears up here where the Head of Wrath is after you've applied a hit. You'll see it start at 1, and then it'll go all the way up to 15, and then he'll nuke you. Alright, so fast forward a little bit and hopefully get this started. And the reason I'm recording over this is because I had audio issues last night. My mic was really low. As it turns out, I accidentally flipped a switch on the mic, so hearing it was a little difficult. So we're just buffing. I don't even know why I buffed with Doom Priest increased attack. So you'll notice, the very first turn, I did not use Brogni's shield, and the reason being is because the Head of Mischief was in this lineup still, and I did not want him to steal the block debuffs from Brogni. So I needed to let Head of Mischief go, steal some buffs. Oh, that's why I went with Doom Priest increased attack. I was baiting the Head of Mischief buff steal. So you'll see here, Tyrant laid down the HP burn. Now because this isn't tuned, Geomancer's already gone, so I'm going to have to wait a little bit here. Okay, so if this was properly tuned, Tyrant would be at 211 speed minimum, so that he could go before Geomancer, and then Geomancer could just lay that HP burn down on the Head of Wrath right away. Now you'll see, pause this, nobody's actually attacked the Head of Wrath. but his attack counter has gone up by 6, and that's because, again, those HP burns are counting towards that damage ticker. So you'll notice the Head of Wrath still has a block buffs up on it because I failed. The Head of Mischief was able to steal block buffs and then spread it, but it works out here because I think he's a little ahead of Geomancer. He takes his turn, block buff falls off, Geomancer goes, lined up perfectly. Now we have Geomancer's HP burn on the Head of Wrath, so we're not afraid to go ahead and let the Head of Wrath get his tickers up. And I miscounted. I did a little bit too much damage, too many hits too early. So we're starting over, but that's fine. Okay, so we're approaching 15. Geomancer only has 1 turn before he gets eaten. That's fine. Not a huge deal. Now let's replay that here. Let's rewind here a little bit. And if you'll notice, the Head of Wrath's damage ticker, or attack count ticker, is at 14. He's about to receive his 15th, at which point he'll AoE everybody. But Brogni's shield is up, so some of that damage is going to be reflected. Geomancer's HP burn is on him, so that some of that damage is going to be reflected, and his damage is going to be reduced. You're going to see my team doesn't really take a big hit here. But he did. Did you see that? Up there. One more rewind. Watch his health. Considerable chunk for him attacking when it should have been a penalty to my team. That his team, he took a ton of damage there. And you can argue that's not a lot of damage, but that's a lot of free damage is what that is. Alright, so Geomancer's about to get eaten here. Not a huge deal. And guys, this was a long run. I made it to more than 150 rounds, or 150 turns. So this lasted a while, so we're not going to watch the whole thing, of course, but we are going to watch some of the highlights. Now, you'll see, champs are pretty healthy, except for, Geomancer's obviously was eaten by the Head of Mischief, and the Hydra heads are going down very nicely, and that's a lot due to the fact that Tyrant's HP burn has stayed out there pretty consistently, and they have no cleanse. So I really took advantage of that in the 2 runs that I've done so far this week, was keep those debuffs out there. And the only thing slowing me down here was the fact that Underpriest Brogni brings that block debuffs, so there were times that I couldn't. Alright, so without us even focusing on the Head of Wrath, he has officially gone down. And the Head of Wrath, in my opinion, the Head of Wrath and the Head of Blight were really the problematic ones this week. Of course, the Head of Mischief giving us issues because we can't focus fire him, but I see an opportunity to put an HP burn out there. It didn't land because they were weak hits from the Poison Cloud, which was really messed up. I didn't think about that. That Tyrant needs to hit with anything but a weak hit in order to apply those HP burns. Geomancer does not, so Mordecai might actually work better in this instance because he doesn't actually have to apply a hit, he just places the HP burn. We were able to free Geomancer. If we didn't, then the run would have gone down. I would have regrouped and started a new key, but we were able to do it, and now we're in a good place because 2 out of the 4 heads are close to death, and then 1 is already dead. So putting some free damage on that Head of Wrath, getting that bonus, those bonus multipliers. couldn't really do anything with Geomancer there. I could have tried to steal some buffs. That would have worked, but I didn't. Godseeker just got eaten by the Head of Blight, which is perfectly okay. The Head of Wrath did come back, which is absolutely fine because we had developed a method with which to deal with him. And as soon as it was possible, Geomancer put his HP burn up back on the Head of Wrath, so that we could continue reducing the amount of damage that he did to us. Now, Godseeker, obviously still eaten here. Needed to get some HP burns out there. I don't think I overwrote the HP burn from Geomancer there. Wasn't 100% certain though. It looks like I reflected a ton of damage there though, so I don't think I overwrote it. So at this point in time, we have 2 out of 4 heads, really low on health, and 2 out of 4 heads dead altogether, or decapitated, not dead. So we're in a really healthy spot. Vrask got eaten, and he brings very little damage. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So this plan is working so far really nicely. I'm getting good RNG. And you'll see the Head of Blight did respawn. So nothing in the operation or the modality in which we are approaching the Hydra at this time needs to change. Now, Head of Mischief is 2 turns away from being able to have a debuff spread or a buff spread. I always get those mixed up. Why do I do that? So it was safe to put up the block buffs. Now he did steal them from Brogni, which is fine. We expect that. We're never going to keep all our buffs. But it's worth having the shield up. So Godseeker is really useful in this scenario because her A2 with the accuracy that I built into her reduces the duration of the buffs that they steal from me. So even if I make a mistake, I can kind of erase the problem that I created, which happened a lot. Now, this is when things started getting really exciting because the Head of Mischief was going down and there was a chance that a different head would come out. So I definitely didn't want the Head of Mischief to be the next head to eat, right? Because that's just problematic. So I took it out and I was hoping that Brogni could get his 4 turns through before the Head of Mischief came back. Some of you might be wondering why I wasn't spending a lot of time focusing on the decapitated Head of Mischief, and that is simply just because there was a rotation here that I needed to follow. There was a debuff priority that I needed to get on everybody. I obviously wasn't gonna debuff the Head of Mischief, the decapitated Head of Mischief, because it would wipe those debuffs as soon as it came back. So people like Geomancer needed to do things, had more important things to do, like spread out the HP burns. Now, this is when things got really interesting because the Head of Mischief did not respawn, right? In my opinion, that's very fortunate because that made things a lot easier. And you'll see it took me a while to notice that that head did not respawn. I'll be double checking that here in a sec. But it's when I realized that I just went all in on basically treating this like clan boss. I could keep my debuffs up because they had no cleanse. I could keep my buffs up because they had no buff steal. I wasn't worried about much at this point. I just wanted those same heads to stay. Brogni came out super quick because we had HP burns up. We had, we could attack the head no problem. This was a very successful moment of the match here. Because of how many HP burns I had up, watch what happens here. Vrask is about to get eaten. HP burn. Boom. He's immediately back out. Because that Head of Torment just died. I didn't have to do anything there. Guys, this is basically it. Tyrant's the last man out there. 1 turn left before he gets eaten. Really nothing to do. But we're at 18 million damage, 175 turns, 176 turns, and that is the final number. 18,467,000 damage, and 170 plus turns. So this team I was so pleased with, and the fact that I had put it together on an impromptu kind of whim really surprised me. I hadn't even tested it, not once. So total damage tally, we got Tyrant with 8.5 million damage, really great, especially for his gear. Geomancer with 5.5 million damage, stellar as always. Geomancer just a performer. Brogni with 2 million damage, most of that's from his shield reflect. Godseeker 1.2 million damage. That could go up so much if I had her crit cap. She could potentially double her damage. Vrask with a respectable 250, but a lot of healing. Look how much healing he did. 2.5 million damage healing. And Doom Priest 1.8 million damage healing, and Godseeker 1.35 million damage healing. So that's intense. This is a really great team for this rotation. And there are going to be here. Let's pull up the other one. Let's pull up my actual client. There are going to be substitutes for some of these champions. These aren't hard picks for these champ slots. So, for instance, let's pull up, Mordecai, for instance, right? He doesn't have that damage reduction debuff, but he's guaranteed to place those HP burns, even if it's off affinity, or if the poison cloud is up. So that's definitely worth a try right there. So he's very acceptable for free to play and low spend. Let's see here, Godseeker, she's pretty clutch, but if you could have other champions that can reduce the duration of buffs, i.e. Sandlash Survivor. I want to say the rare Valerie from Bannerlords does that as well, and she's actually featured in a video that I'm going to publishing this weekend for Faction Wars 21, where she helped me big time get through it. Increase the duration of all buffs on allies. Also, yep. So Valerie does the same thing. And she's also bringing in a heal on her A3 that scales based on how many buffs your team has. The only thing she doesn't bring is a raise. Vrask, some of you may not have him. those passive heals are super clutch. So, you know, maybe there's something in your inventory or your roster that you can use. He's just healing every time, basically. If you have a Vrask, I highly recommend you give him a try this week. Geomancer, I think the vast majority of players have Geomancer because he was pushed in that guaranteed Geo event. Was it a guaranteed Geo event? Yeah, there was a guaranteed Geo event, right? It was 40 shards for Geomancer. That's back when he started first becoming popular with Clan Boss. So yeah, a lot of people should have Geomancer. He's pretty clutch. Other HP burn alternatives. So Elder Skarg, I did a video on him last week, I believe. You can check out the link for that over there. I'll put it on that side of the screen. Sorry, new to this. Yeah, I didn't exactly one key with Elder Skarg, but none of my teams are optimized right now. Other HP burn champs. Write a comment in the comment section about who your favorite HP burn champ is. No one here, obviously. Sissia, if you can keep her alive. Oh, the guaranteed one that everybody gets from Doom Tower. Where are you? Demon Spawn, right? Yeah, Akoth the Seer. Build him. He's great. Right? I'm going to be building him in the near future and doing a video on him along with his counterpart, who also comes from Doom Tower. I have not summoned her yet, though. I'm waiting for the next fusion to do so. So I'll probably be building those two during the fusion once Champ Chase comes around. But yeah, guys, tell me what you think about the results of that run. Let me know what kind of adaptations to the team you can do, so that you can get those crazy results too. This week's really interesting. It's a really interesting rotation for Hydra. I think it's a little easier to deal with than the last three Hydra rotation, or the last block of Hydras, because they don't have a cleanse. At least not right out the gate. There's a chance for one to spawn, but, you know, there's also a chance for it not to spawn. So, yeah, let me know what teams you're putting together. I want to see your progress. Let me know some flaws that you saw in my team. You know, I know obviously the speeds aren't tuned. Tyrant's kind of weak right now. They're not crit capped. Let me know what you would do in my place, and leave us a like, subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you appreciate this content, alright? We appreciate you. Y'all have a good one.